On the 20th of April 2024, Buckie Thistle celebrated winning the Highland League and with this looked towards their upcoming promotion playoff against East Kilbride. On the 25th of April, however, the statements started flying, with it being revealed that Buckie will not get to partake in the playoff due to lacking the required licence to compete in the SPFL. This, unsurprisingly, has caused some uproar around the licensing system, the SFA and the SPFL. So in this video, I'll be looking at Buckie's complaints, the licensing system as a whole, and what other ways this situation could be resolved. First, what is the licensing system? The licensing system covers 4 aspects of a club and gives a grade from entry to platinum. This was brought into match with UEFA, who have their own system for allowing clubs to compete in European competitions. When it comes to competing in SFA competitions, mainly the Scottish Cup but at certain levels of the pyramid, you require an SFA licence at a certain level. To compete in the Scottish Cup, along with Tier 5 in the pyramid, so the Highland and Lowland Leagues respectively, you require an entry licence. The 3 mandatory aspects you need to satisfy for each level of SFA licence are ground, first team, and legal, administration and financial codes. There is a 4th optional aspect, that being youth teams, but many clubs who do have licences don't have a category for their youth licence, as there won't be any officially affiliated youth setup, which is something that is surprisingly common when you look through the list of licensed clubs. I would list off every part of the mandatory criteria, but we would be here for ages, so I'll give a basic summary of what each area covers. The first mandatory criteria is the ground criteria, which is split into 18 sections based on spectator, media, and playing facilities. First team criteria only has 10 sections based around coaching and medical provisions, and the final criteria is legal, admin, finance, and codes of practice criteria, which is exactly as it says, it's all paperwork stuff. So what is the fuss with Buckie Thistle? Well, simply, they have an entry licence, which is below the requirement for the SPFL, where membership requires a bronze licence. Problem solved then. Buckie are complaining for no reason. Suck it up and get a licence in order for next season and try again, right? Well, this is where we start getting into the statements. On the 25th of April 2024, Buckie released a statement stating, Buckie Thistle received an email from the SPFL stating that because the club did not comply with the SFA bronze licence criteria and did not apply for a waiver or period of grace in respect of this non-compliance by the deadline of 31st of March 2024, there will be no playoff tie between Buckie Thistle and East Kilbride, and East Kilbride will automatically go forward to the pyramid playoff tie with Club 42. However, we can confirm that the club has been in regular contact with the SFA in regard to the bronze licence criteria items, and we were in fact asked by the SPFL to ask for a period of grace for 4 of these items on Tuesday 23rd of April, which we duly did. Our club president, Gary Farquhar, attended a meeting with the SFA on Wednesday the 24th of April, and we were granted derogations for 3 items: floodlights, safety officer, and diversity and inclusion. 1 item, medical, has been deferred until the 15th of May, but the club has committed to resolving the matter by May 10th. It goes without saying that everyone at the club is stunned and devastated by the timing of this decision. It's particularly harsh on the players and management who put so much hard work into winning the Highland League title that they don't get the opportunity to go for promotion. The SFA came out with their own statement, adding, the licensing committee considered a range of eligibility criteria in respect of Buckie Thistle's application. Unfortunately, the submission did not meet the requirements for the award of a bronze licence. All Scottish Highland Football League and Scottish Lowland Football League clubs were written to in December last year to advise that the audit process would be accelerated for those clubs with a chance of promotion, in light of the SPFL's updated membership criteria requirements. The Scottish FA's club licensing department has been in regular dialogue with Buckie Thistle since then to notify the club of, and provide ample time to address, issues highlighted in their club licensing report. Unfortunately, these issues were not addressed by the club prior to yesterday's licensing committee decision. A part of this statement had an SPFL spokesman give their side, adding, every club was made aware in summer last year of the need to have a Scottish FA bronze licence to participate in the SPFL. Regrettably, Buckie Thistle failed to respond to any of the 3 subsequent follow-up letters sent in October, February and March. They are not compliant with SPFL rules and failed to apply for a period of grace by the 31st of March 2024 deadline. The SPFL board has huge sympathy for Buckie and their fans, but has no option but to enforce our rules. So what on earth is happening here?
Man, what the is happening?
Well, on the 26th of April, a day after the previous statements, Buckie released a follow-up explaining what has happened on their end. They revealed that the SFA had given them an extension to the 15th of May to sort out their bronze licence, stating, "Club officials attended meetings and had discussions with both the SPFL and SFA on Tuesday and Wednesday this week, but no indication was given at any point that Saturday's fixture was in doubt. Below is an extract from a decision note issued by the SFA which clearly states the decision on the bronze licence is deferred until the 15th of May. Buckie Thistle were awarded derogations on 3 of the items mentioned and given until 15th of May to resolve the medical items." This statement adds the sections of the regulations for which they got exemptions or extensions for, those being floodlights for ground criteria, multiple medical sections for the first team criteria, and in the administration criteria, sections regarding a safety officer and diversity and inclusion. Now, before people start complaining about wokeness denying Buckie Thistle or some other stupid culture war shite, the diversity and inclusion section is about making sure nobody is excluded from club aspects due to race, religion, gender, sexuality, etc. It is not about forcing clubs to have them running the club or being on the pitch. So, Buckie has these statements about how they were under the impression that the SFA has granted them an extension, but what about the SPFL? Well, back on the 31st of October 2023, the SPFL sent out a letter to clubs describing changes to their membership protocol. In it, they mentioned that all clubs for the start of a 24-25 season will require a bronze licence to compete in the league system. I mention this because people seem to be confused over how there are multiple clubs currently in the SPFL with an entry licence. Airdrie, Cove, Edinburgh City, Kelty and Peterhead are the 5 clubs in case you were wondering. Another part of this letter from the SPFL is arguably the most important part. It states, "All clubs in membership of the SHFL and SLFL are potentially the candidate club and each should carefully consider now what measures/steps each would require to take to meet the SPFL membership criteria and/or any approvals, waivers, periods of grace each would require in order for it to be permitted to 1. Participate in any pyramid playoff competition which may run at the end of the season 23-24 and 2. To be promoted to cinch League 2 of the SPFL, if successful as the winner of that playoff competition." Since the membership criteria compliance date is the 31st of March prior to any season, this requires all clubs in the SHFL and SLFL which consider that they have any prospect of being the champion club of the relevant league to ensure compliance with the SPFL membership criteria and or the making of any required applications for approval, waiver, periods of grace not later than 31st of March 2024, i.e. some weeks in advance of knowing which club will be the champion club of each of those leagues. Now, this suggests that Buckie did not submit their applications for extension in time, and in Buckie's second statement they mention having meetings with the SPFL and SFA on the 23rd and 24th of April discussing being given extensions to meet bronze licence criteria. Now, it doesn't help that these statements all seem to contradict each other, but it seems as though that whilst the SFA have given special dispensation for Buckie to have an extended deadline, along with being in communication with them, the SPFL, who are ultimately in charge of the playoffs, have rejected this. So who is in the wrong? Is it Buckie for not getting their house in order? Is it the authorities for not giving leeway? Or is it both sides for getting into this mess in the first place? Ultimately, at the end of the day, it is up to the clubs to stick to regulations. Buckie were in a title fight last season, so it was probable that they would be in a title fight once again. the SPFL made it clear about having these deadlines to get stuff up to scratch and earn a bronze licence. There is of course the challenges that Buckie would have had upon promotion to League 2 if they were to make it. Buckie is located about halfway along the A96 between Aberdeen and Inverness, making it difficult to travel to the Central Belt, providing challenges for the team and their fans to travel to clubs further south. There has always been this belief around Highland League clubs about not wanting to get promoted due to their relative isolation, and this is something that I want to delve deeper into in its own video, but with this situation it can perpetuate this in some people's minds. It might also showcase a Central Belt bias within the SFA, with the Lowland League winners being East Kilbride, who themselves have a bronze licence already. Blame also lies at the hands of the SFA and SPFL in this manner. They make the rules, and as previously mentioned, it is up to clubs to follow these rules, but this is something that could be communicated clearly with clubs and supporters alike. If Buckie have failed to get their paperwork in order in the required time frame, say that to the club at the time and make it known to the public so we don't end up in this situation again. Buckie meanwhile are considering taking the SFA and SPFL to arbitration, casting further doubt on what has gone on behind the scenes, but considering the last time the SFA got taken to arbitration was over the COVID season being ended early, I doubt Buckie will get anywhere. That's all for this video, and I hope you did enjoy, even if it is a bit confusing. I know it was pretty much just reading statements, but a lot of the discourse around this whole playoff situation is been based off of headlines. People don't read the articles anymore because it's usually behind a paywall or something. What are your thoughts on the situation? Leave them in the comments below. Of course, liking, sharing and subscribing is appreciated, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.